In this season of 50 days, we have been addressing a number of illuminations from the Gospels, the Acts of the Apostles, and the book of Revelation. Most of these illuminations are positive, graced encounters between individuals, communities, with the proclamation of the resurrection and the gospel. Today, I wish to address the illumination from Revelation chapter 6, and that is the four horsemen of the apocalypse. This particular vision in Revelation 6 has been a part of Christian artistic imagination for the last 20 centuries, and it portrays doom, destruction, and death. As such, it's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to be specific in the interpretation of this chapter. And that's probably what makes it so tantalizing to human beings to try to understand. For much of Revelation, Rome and its way of making empire symbolizes, indeed it embodies, evil. The Roman army moved with controlled brutality. On the other hand, the Parthians were excellent horsemen, the only army to ever defeat the Romans in the open field. If we take the Romans as, if you will, the symbol of greed and violence, then the white horse really embraces those particular characters, both on an individual and on a national level. The red horse and its rider, which has a huge sword, is a symbol of violence and war-making. The black horse has a rider with a scale in his hands and symbolizes, if you will, famine and the rationing of food. The green horse, and you can see right underneath it, it has the HIV virus and other kinds of vermin, symbolizes death and decay, starvation and disease. In creating this illumination, Donald Jackson was drawing on images from across the entire project of making the St. John's Bible. In particular, the color scheme that he's using here reflects, in some ways, both the glory of God still present in that illumination and also fire raging and burning as a destructive force across the creation. Indeed, all the way across this illumination, there are bars of gold reflecting Jackson and the Committee on Text Illumination, their belief that even in the midst of awfulness, God's grace is still present. The Lamb, all the way on the left-hand side, does not cause these riders or their forces to be unleashed, but it opens the scrolls, letting events unfold, as if to say, despite teachings and warnings that specific patterns of actions will lead to death and destruction, we as humankind seem almost disempowered from preventing this cycle to occur. Note that this illumination extends all the way across the top of the page, and these four horses and their riders ride across the top of the text. It's as if they're given free rein and unleash as they go these forces of destruction, many of which, when you take a careful look at this illumination, you'll see that they reflect back to us the destruction of our own time, So, for example, you will see blown up tanks and oil derricks that no longer work, pointing towards the environmental destruction that occurs when we're careless with our technology. Across the side and the bottom here, there is vermin walking through the seams of the page. And finally, across the entire front, there are bodies everywhere. It reminds one of still images taken of Ukraine right now, the war that is unfolding before our very eyes. What is the book of Revelation, chapter 6, trying to tell us? It's trying to tell us overall that there will be war, famine, disease, greed, and other kinds of human misdirections. And despite all of that, the overall message of the book of Revelation is positive. Redemption has already been won. Human beings, in the face of all of this, are still free. But the journey is not a slam dunk. Humankind goes through these kinds of cycles, even sometimes when much of it is invisible. This illumination is intended to be a reflective warning to each one of us, to be deeply reflective about what is going on in our world, not to be overwhelmed by it, but to understand it as part of the overall flow of human history, in which, even in the presence of an enormous amount of evil, good has to triumph. It is never too late to make a good choice for the future.